Today we're going to be talking about the Lambayeque, Chimu, and Chancay cultures. They are all part of the Andean civilization and they are all from Peru. We're going to go in order, so we're going to go Lambayeque, Chimu, and Chancay. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Lambayeque culture. The Lambayeque culture was a culture from ancient Peru that flourished between 750 and 375 CE. Like other civilizations that contributed to the Andean art, it is believed that the Lambayeque culture abandoned Baton Grande, which was one of the most important sites in Lambayeque, because of the environmental factors like El Nino. The medium of art that I think best represents Lambayeque culture is their metalwork. The reason their metalwork best represents Lambayeque culture is because we see their metalwork everywhere. It really dominates every other medium. And because of this, it was also used to represent wealth. The elite, when they wore their tunics, they had embroidered gold. And we also have examples of various objects such as feathers, headdresses, and even like gold gloves. Besides making metalwork for the elite, they also made pottery in metal that had the same like double spout shape that we have seen in Paracas and other previous Andean civilizations. Metal work was definitely their specialty, and we see it more with gold. As mentioned before, a well-known gold metalwork that I chose today was the gold ceremonial knife, which is also called the tumi, I believe. They were actually used in human sacrifices, so this right here is actually the tumi, and this was going to be an example of the gold work that they also had. And if you were to Google Lambayeque art, you would also see that a lot of their art is definitely gold, like metal, and it does focus a lot more on gold work. And here we see the double-spouted metal work that we had from previous cultures like Paracas. But mine focused on this one, which was the tumi knife that they used for human sacrifices. And then the next culture that we're going to talk about, which is our second culture, is the Chimu culture. The Chimu culture was also a culture from ancient Peru, like we mentioned in the beginning. It flourished from the 12th and 15th century CE, and their capital was called Chancay. And at the time, the Chimu were actually one of the largest cultures in the late intermediate period, and they were the second largest empire in the ancient Andes. The Chimu culture actually conquered the Lambayeque culture, so that's why we see like a lot of similarities in their artwork, such as their metal and like in their gold. If you were to look up Chimu culture, you would also see a lot of their artwork, but I didn't choose to focus on that today. I think that their specialty was definitely textiles. The Chimu textiles were very beautiful, and they have natural colors, unlike the other textiles we've seen before, where they focus more like on really bright colors like blue and stuff. Like when we look back at the Paracas textiles, those are like more blue, and like they were more like, they just had brighter colors like blue and yellow. They were like more, I guess, kind of defined. Like they did have like a outer line figure that you could see here, unlike the Chimu culture. The Chimu culture textiles, they focused more on like the ruling class, and we can see that when we look at the textiles from other Andean cultures that didn't focus on like the same ruling class. Some textiles were also decorated with medals and gold squares that were like sewn on to the fabric of the textile. And also something interesting that I found while I was doing my research about the Chimu culture is that some Chimu leaders actually like to collect artwork from other civilizations. So when scientists and people are going back to like look at their like quote unquote like houses, like where they lived, like they discovered like a lot of like artwork that like was from other cultures that didn't belong to them. So now when we look at the Chimu culture and we look at their textiles, you see that they're more, I guess, natural looked, and they're like less defined, and they just focus on natural colors. Like this one, I used this one for my presentation, but we could see that they are really simple, and they just focus on like leaders. For the next culture and the last culture, we are going to talk about the Chancay culture. The Chancay culture was also another culture from ancient Peru that flourished between, I think, about 1100 or 1200 to 1450 AD. There's actually no evidence of a centralized state organization, so there's like no evidence of like, I guess like a good political power in a say. So like not a lot is known about their culture. Well, at least that, like, I can search and stuff, like, because I tried looking up, and I couldn't find a lot about their culture. But what we do know is that a lot of people actually considered their artwork very boring, because it's actually really simple. Like, when we're looking at the first piece of ceramics, right here, the Chancay ceramics, they aren't as vivid in colors as, like, other ceramics that we see. They're just more, like, just black and white, and they're simple, and their appearance is very like dull. It's very neutral. There's not much going on with like the facial expressions and stuff, and like they actually almost kind of have like the same like shape, like as we see here. They're just like standing. They have the same shape, kind of like the same look, and they're all pretty. They all look almost the same, honestly. Like you can't really like tell a difference as if you were to like look at another civilization that we've seen before. Like they're very simple. They don't have like really bright colors like this one. I think this one's from Paracas, and it like they're not the same. They focus more, I guess, on black and white and very simple artwork. So that is my presentation for today. I hope that you guys learned a lot. And sorry for the background noise. It is my dog. She is eating.